Thank you for rejoining me on the Afia Business Morning. Welcome to Global Business. And here we take a look at business news stories around the continent of Africa and indeed the rest of the world. My name is Ubong Kings. Welcome. Here are the headlines that we are tracking at the moment. We're starting off in Africa, where it's reported that Zimbabwe is to pay salaries in dollars after their currency devaluation. And now South Africa, now Brussels breaks impasse after European Union disagrees on electric vehicle tariffs. And still from the foreign scene, LVMH signs a 10-year global partnership with Formula One. We'll bring you details of these stories and more right after this break. Stay tuned. You're watching Global Business right here on the Afia Business Morning. We begin with stories, business stories if you may, from Africa, where it's reported that the government of Zimbabwe, in an attempt to mitigate the impact of the recent devaluation of the ZiG, has announced that salary raises and an annual bonus for civil servants in the country will be paid in US dollars, where, according to the Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, July Moyo, the move by the government is aimed at uplifting lower-income employees from inflation and widespread poverty. Furthermore, Moyo also confirmed that the Treasury has already set aside the required US dollars for government employees, including an increase in the US dollar component of their salaries, as the government has committed to paying civil servants their annual bonuses this year, with consultations on the timing of the 13th check nearing completion. Let me try to emphasize a few things as far as this story is concerned, which pretty much strikes me emphatically. Now, that paragraph, there's a paragraph, which is summarized as saying that according to the Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, July Moyo, the move by government to pay civil servants in dollars is aimed at uplifting lower income employees from inflation and widespread poverty. Now, the question I would naturally ask is, isn't this contributing immensely, okay, maybe profusely if you like, to the dollarization of the Zimbabwe economy? And the other question is, isn't Zimbabwe already a part of BRICS? Because as at July the 29th day in the year 2023, it was reported that Zimbabwe applied to join the BRICS New Development Bank. But, well, we're seeing all of this happening in a country that was supposedly part of BRICS, but this is happening. Well, VOA Zimbabwe, that Voice of Africa Zimbabwe, captured the mood of Mutili Nkube, the Minister for Finance and Economic Development of Zimbabwe, as he took his time to share his thoughts with reference to this development. Let's take a look.
We are determined to stabilize the macroeconomic environment so that the environment can support the growth of our economy. So the action taken by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe was actually to produce a package of measures. Those measures included adjusting the currency from about 14 to 25 to the US dollar. It also included raising the policy rate to 35%, because the idea is that you want to discourage speculative demand for credit for speculation in the power market. The other measure that the central bank put in place was to increase the reserve requirement for loans, for both ZiG domestic loans as well as foreign loans. You can see that, but also they restricted the amount of money that anyone can just take out of the country as part of their free funds, just to stem the outflow of money. So what the Reserve Bank put in place was a package of measures to really deal with the issue of currency stability. Now, when it comes to the issue of allowing the exchange rate to move to 25 as official exchange rate, the intention there was to make sure that the gap between the parallel market and the official market is somewhat narrowed That was also presenting other challenges for the retailers. I spoke to some of the retailers. They've been consulting with government, with the line ministry, Ministry of Industry and Commerce, the Central Bank, with Treasury. Clearly, that gap was causing challenges, and that gap had to be closed. So, on that score, it's good that gap was closed, and it brought some relief to the retailers. We'll continue to look at other measures to make sure that gap doesn't run away and continue to give us challenges in macroeconomic stability. Yes, we're quite aware that the act of putting in place a flexible exchange rate or devaluation does have an impact immediately on incomes, on prices. And for us as government, on our part, we will make some adjustments naturally to civil servant salaries to make sure that the purchasing power of the salaries is somewhat restored. Maybe not in full, but we go somewhat towards getting there. So there's bound to be pain, there's bound to be impact. That's what happens with any policy. Any policy does have negative impacts, and that's what has happened. But we'll make some adjustments to make sure that those who are losers can be compensated somewhat. Don't be everybody who will be looked after, but we'll do our best. But the idea is to make sure that we deal with the issue of macroeconomic stability, and that's what the central bank announced.
So that was the finance minister for Zimbabwe, Minister for Finance and Economic Development, the person of Ntuli Nkube, sharing his thoughts with reference to the policy that would pretty much pay civil servants in dollars. And moving on to business stories from the automotive world, it's reported that the European Union countries have failed to agree on whether to slap China-made electric vehicles (EVs) with steeper tariffs during a closely watched vote that ended in too many abstentions, forcing the European Commission to overcome the political impasse and push its proposal over the finish line. Although the political consensus indicates that Beijing's unfair trade practices merit a forceful, united response, threats of commercial retaliation appear to have dampened the resolve of many capitals as the make-or-break date neared closer. Unfortunately, the high numbers of abstentions reflects long-standing qualms about how Europe should stand up to China. Let's hold up real quickly and let's look at something. This story to me brings an interesting dimension of the European Union China trade tariff war to the fore. Now, what this story simply says, let's break it down, is that most European Union countries are declining to vote for or against the proposal or motion to slap China-made electric vehicles, EVs, with steeper tariffs. It may interest you to know that there are about 14 of them that have refused to vote. Anyway, Euronews tells us more on this development. Let's take a look.
European member states have failed to agree on whether the EU should apply steeper tariffs on China-made electric vehicles. Now the decision goes back to the EU Commission, who can implement its proposal. This means that the tariffs can be imposed. The vote in Council revealed clear divisions. 10 countries voted in favor of the tariffs, with France and Italy amongst them. Germany and 4 more countries voted against. However, the abstention of 12 countries meant that there was no result.
Germany's car manufacturers operate largely at the higher end. It's mostly premium cars, and they invested heavily within China. Given that they're premium branding, they're not too worried about competition on the lower end of the markets from Chinese imports. Whereas French and Italian producers have not invested as heavily in China, and they compete much more directly on the low end of the market, and they're therefore much more worried about the effect that Chinese competition would have for the European market.
The high number of abstentions reflects long-standing concerns about how Europe should stand up to China. Even though there is agreement about the fact that Beijing's unfair trade practices merit a forceful, united response, fears of commercial retaliation appear to have dampened the resolve of many capitals, especially with a make-or-break date approaching.
I think what is clear is that the Chinese government would retaliate. That is what they normally do. And they already signaled where they will do this, which would be agricultural exports. Now, compared to the EV market, the agriculture market, even though it's politically very important, is economically not that big. So the question is basically, will that be enough for an escalation on the European side, and basically to which extent the Chinese side will escalate in more and more bigger sectors?
And in a world full of...
Friday's vote marked a victory for the president of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. In its statement, the EU Commission still left the door open for a different outcome, stating that the EU and China would continue to work hard to explore an alternative solution.
Watching Global Business right here on the AFIA Business Morning on AFIA TV. Kindly join in the conversation and watching live right now on our dedicated AFIA Business YouTube channel. Do well to kindly tap in the search bar www.youtube.com/AFIA Business, and while you're there, do well to hit the like button. Remember, you should subscribe so you get notifications on all business related content coming to you from AFIA TV. You can also follow us on Instagram. Yes, be part of our social media community at AFIA Business _. Up next, it will be more business news stories from the world of luxurious car racing, and of course the rest of the world right after this break. Stay tuned. You're welcome back to the AFIA Business Morning right here on AFIA TV. You're still watching Global Business. Now to the rest of our stories. And this time around, we'll move into the world of luxurious car racing, where it's reported that the French luxury conglomerate LVMH has clinched a 10-year global partnership and sponsorship deal estimated to be worth about $1 billion with Formula One, where they will begin sponsoring races from next year with a variety of brands, replacing the iconic watch manufacturer Rolex, which has been in partnership with Formula One since 2013. However, this move comes as global motorsports has seen a resurgence in popularity over the last few years, with the race locations being added. And for the sake of emphasis, let's look at that particular story and clarification too. Doubt, the acronym LVMH actually stands for Louis Vuitton, Moet, and of course Hennessy. And these guys, according to the story, have just clinched a 10-year global partnership and sponsorship deal estimated to be worth about $1 billion with Formula One. And this, to me, is more money in the bank. Interestingly, Legend's success takes a dive into the interesting detail of how the LVMH brand made it to so much prominence. Let's take a quick look at it.
But how did this empire come to be? This is a story of vision, strategy, and unstoppable ambition. LVMH's story begins in 1987 with the merger of Louis Vuitton and Moet Hennessy. Louis Vuitton was famous for its handbags and luxury goods, while Moet and Hennessy ruled the world of high-end wines and spirits. But behind this empire was the mastermind of Bernard Arnault. Arnault's vision was simple. He wanted to be the biggest name in the luxury industry, and through his business acumen and foresight, he made this dream a reality. While Louis Vuitton and Moet Hennessy were already powerful, Arnault went on to bring Dior, Fendi, Givenchy, and Bulgari into his empire. This strategy of acquisitions gave LVMH an unmatched position in the luxury world. But friends, the secret behind LVMH's success wasn't just about buying brands. Arnault always valued quality, exclusivity, and heritage. Each brand was allowed to remain unique, while within the LVMH ecosystem, their efficiency and profitability skyrocketed. This strategy protected each brand's identity while propelling LVMH's growth to new heights. Arnault focused on something else too: innovation. He merged traditional craftsmanship with modern technology. This combination didn't just make LVMH's products exclusive, it made them future-proof. Just like Louis Vuitton's bags have always been the definition of luxury, Moet and Hennessy's spirits became the epitome of world class. LVMH adjusted its strategies at every difficult turn. They embraced digital platforms, promoted online shopping, and diversified their customer base. That's why, even today, LVMH is one of the top-performing luxury brands in the world.
Oh, well, in an attempt to end this bulletin, let's bring you the story that Alstom, a French company, has bagged an order for 12 high-speed trains in a contract worth almost 850 million euros from a newly established French train company, Proxima, which deliveries scheduled to start in 2028, as it has also received an investment of 0.29 million euros to test out new artificial intelligence technology to reduce railway wildlife accidents. Meanwhile, you may also be interested to know that the deal also includes maintenance on Atlantic Coast roads for 15 years, with Proxima expected to start services on these routes by the end of the decade. Now, quickly, I need to point out some few things. This conversation is about 12 high-speed trains, not one, but 12. 12 high-speed trains. Now, that talks about or borders on infrastructure, political willpower, efficiency, and adequate security infrastructure for this train service system to thrive, to the place of being able to bag an order for 12 high-speed trains in a contract which is worth almost about 850 million euros. Now, let's bring this conversation home. What is the situation with our railway system in Nigeria? Think about it for a second or two. How safe are we when we get to use them? I mean, there have been incidences, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Interestingly, Alstom, from about a few months ago, reported on the first time it commenced a high-speed train in India. Now it is in France. Let's take a quick look at this, and when we come back, we'll wrap this up. Please stay. That's what was put together by Alstom and showing us the technological advancement as far as the world of train and rail service, transportation service is concerned. We'll follow with this story and other stories. Stay on field to keep you in the loop with reference to these stories. And you may want to get to our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel and watch in live, and kindly type in the search bar www.youtube.com/ at Afia Business. And while you're there, remember you should like and subscribe so you get notifications on all business-related content coming to you from Afia TV. You can also join our social media community on Instagram at Afia Business _. Would really like to see and get your comments and responses to our post right there on social media. You're still watching the Afia Business Morning on Afia TV. Coming up next will be a conversation around the attendant benefits or lack of benefits with regard to selling of crude in Naira to Dangote Refinery and by extension other local refineries on the Eastern Business Report. The Afia Business Morning will be right back. My name is Ubong Kings. Stay tuned.